Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News. This bulletin is coming to you live from our studios here at Kokomlem Lane, Accra, on digital address GA0993341. It's broadcasting live on Joy 99.7 FM, also live on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi, affiliates across the country on ABN Radio in London and around the world at myjoyonline.com. The news is brought to you by Telesol 4G, proudly Ghanaian. Telesol, just a touch. UMB Bank, UMB Speed Up, DigiBank, Let's Go, and Mac Auto Parts Ghana, distributors of Isuzu and Chevy vehicles. Mac Auto Parts is with you for the long run. In this edition, 9-year-old girl, class 2 pupil, partially paralyzed after falling off from a table as a teacher allegedly attempted to defile her.
He put me on one of the tables and started inserting his fingers in my genitals. It was painful. I started struggling with him.
We'll bring you more as parents of the child are compelled to keep her at home for lack of money to pay medical bills. Minority leader demands firm assurances from government if it will protect the interest of workers of 7 local banks that have collapsed.
We should be interested as a country, what is it that we can do to restore the dignity and honor, the reputation and standing of our financial institutions. I generally do not think that we've handled this matter properly.
We'll hear from him as officials of KPMG and PricewaterhouseCoopers appear before Parliament's Finance Committee probing banking collapse. And policy think tank Institute of Energy Security warns of impending erratic power supply if government fails to assist debt-distressed power transmitter Gridco.
Both UCG and Gridco will not be able to distribute power effectively. And so the Ministry of Energy needs to step in as soon as possible because this can lead to major blackouts in the system.
And in sports,
now the Black Stars have wrapped up training in Addis Ababa and ready to fly out to Kenya later today for Saturday's 2019 Africa Cup of Nations qualifier. The details coming up later.
We have all that and more here on the Midday News with me, Emefa Apau. Let's start from Parliament, where Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu is demanding firm assurances from government that it will protect the interests of workers of 7 local banks that have collapsed. He believes government did not handle the job issues around the collapse well. He's been speaking after he sat through the meeting of the Finance Committee as they proved the collapse.
The Pricewaterhouse and KPMG is doing a submission to the Finance Committee as a receivership report on the standing and status of those banks that resulted in the imminent collapse of those banks. In the public interest for the public good, Parliament and the Finance Committee must be concerned about the banking sector and employment in the banking sector and the consequence of severance and resulting unemployment arising out of the collapse of those financial institutions. And we should be interested as a country, what is it that we can do to restore the dignity and honor, the reputation and standing of our financial institutions. I understand that there is a lot of panic with movement of money from indigenous banks. We should be concerned about the fate of our indigenous banks. Their contribution to the growth of the economy, the growth of the service sector, and employment generally must be jealously and religiously protected. But they must ring them in within rules to respect the regulatory mandate and authority of the Bank of Ghana and to keep it away from unnecessary political interference so that there will be some sanity in the banking sector and banking regime. But I'm particularly concerned about loss of jobs and whether or not there will be capacity to pay severance award. What happens to the wives and children of the affected persons as school reopens? What is it that the government of Ghana can do to find new life to those institutions as possible? Don't forget that the US did it when they had a financial crisis. The state came in. Let's see what role the state of Ghana can play. I generally do not think that we've handled this matter properly.
You have a Minority Leader Haruna Idris. Now, officials of KPMG and PricewaterhouseCoopers are currently before the Finance Committee for their probe. But Joseph Opoku-Gakpo joins us live from Parliament on the line for details. So, Joseph, what have we gathered so far from that meeting?
So the officials of PricewaterhouseCoopers left the sitting of the committee about 15 minutes ago to allow for officials of KPMG to then walk in and meet members of the committee. The point that was raised by the minority leader about the issues having to do with jobs, we understand came up in that interaction with officials of PricewaterhouseCoopers, because you would recall that when they took over the defunct UTA bank, there were some incidents of job losses that came up as a result of that. And we gather from the meeting that they were interrogated on what exactly the projections of that had been and what the way forward would look like. There were also questions we gather on what has been done with the assets of UT Bank and Capital Bank, even after PricewaterhouseCoopers took over, and what they've done with those issues having to do with the directors of those two banks and how they are getting their assets in order to recoup the monies that actually went down. A little later, officials of the Consolidated Bank would also appear before the committee as they continue their probe here in Parliament House.
But Joseph, just before I let you off, yesterday we know that Isaac Adongo, a member of the committee, walked out of the meeting raising some concerns. Was he there today?
No, Honorable Isaac Adongo has not been here for this particular sitting, although the minority MPs, John Jinapor, Fisikweti and others are participating in the hearing, as well as those on the majority side as well.
So apart from KPMG and PricewaterhouseCoopers, are we expecting any other institutions to appear before the Finance Committee?
So we're expecting the Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited. We gather that the managing director of that particular entity himself will be appearing before the committee, because the committee members want to raise questions even having to do with the very legality about the establishment of that particular bank and how they'll be able to pay back the investment that government has made into it.
Thank you very much. That's Joseph Opoku-Gakpo giving us details from that Finance Committee probe. But away from that, policy think tank Institute of Energy Security is warning of an impending erratic power supply if government fails to, as a matter of urgency, address the debt situation at power transmitter Gridco. Joy News has cited a copy of Gridco's statement of account dated August 17, 2018 that reviews the Electricity Company of Ghana is one of the major debtors with an outstanding amount of 694 million Ghana cedis. Here are extracts from that statement of account.
The main debtors captured in the report are the Volta Aluminium Company Limited, VALCO, and the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG. While ECG was required to make payments of 957 million cedis as at August 17, 2018, VALCO was to settle an amount of 29 million cedis. The two succeeded in making part payments, leaving VALCO with an outstanding commitment of 2.5 million cedis, while that of ECG stood at 253 million cedis. The two are named in another document titled Issues Affecting Gridco's Financial Performance. Parts of the document read, quote, current capital ratio for 2014, 16 and 17 are 1.85, 1.00 and 0.98. The declining current ratio confirms the high receivables held by ECG and VALCO and weak liquidity support, unquote. This document states the standard capital ratio to be 2:1, but that of Gridco currently stands at 0.96. Other companies owing Gridco include Nedco, VRA, Great Consolidated Mines, Asogli Thermal Station, Ameri Power Plant, Bui Hydropower, Car Power Ship, among others.
Well, those were extracts of that statement of account. But the Institute of Energy Security wants government to immediately step in to assist Gridco to avert possible blackout. Pakwesi Anamwasechi is Executive Director of IES.
We understand the challenges of Electricity Corporation of Ghana. Equally, VRA have their own challenges as well as VALCO and the rest. And so they are unable to pay their bills to Gridco, and Gridco is also really under pressure. And so we are not surprised at what we are hearing today.
Must consumers be worried?
The major challenge we have today has to do with power distribution. And knowing very well that Gridco has technical challenges in terms of their outdated and inefficient distribution equipment, they will require enough funds to be able to retool themselves and make the system of distribution more efficient. We all know that because of the inefficiency in the distribution network, we have power losses of more than 8%. as we have it today. And so there's a tendency that if they are unable to get their equipment right and get them retooled, then, of course, there could be blackouts. ECG's inability to pay its bills also tells you that they equally have challenges. And so both ECG and Gridco will not be able to distribute power effectively if they are not resourced well or their debts are not paid on time. And so the Ministry of Energy needs to step in as soon as possible because this can lead to major blackouts in the system.
You heard Pakwesiana Mwasiti, Executive Director of the Institute of Energy Security. We've made attempts to reach the Energy Ministry for some action on this, but it's been so far unsuccessful. As and when we are able to reach the Energy Ministry, we'll bring you their response. But away from that, a 40-year-old man, Yao Mensah Agri, is in police custody for murdering his wife, Ajua Frimpoma, at their residence at Ablekuma here in Accra. The landlord of the residence told Joy News he was called this morning by a co-tenant who noticed bloodstains at the door of the deceased. According to Barnabas Aban, he broke into the room and found the deceased lying in a pool of blood. The landlord says the couple has been constantly fighting because of the woman's supposed affair with another man.
This morning I was in my room when a tenant in my house called me that she has seen a blood stain in one of the co-tenants' porch. So I arrived to look at it and I saw that it was serious. So I just entered into the rooms. Then I found a lady lying down in a blood pool. So I called a taxi, I arranged for a taxi and then I sent her to hospital. Then I also arrived to make the police reports at Anya Market. So I was at Anya Market when I had a call from hospital that the lady has died. So the CID went to the house and then found the husband hiding himself in the bathroom. And he has been arrested to the police custody.
You hear that Barnabas Aban is a landlord at Ablekuma where a man allegedly murdered his wife in cold blood. My colleague Ifwa Evans Chinri is on this beat and joins us on the line with more on this. Ifwa, what more have you picked up in connection with the death of this woman?
Well, hi, MFA. I'm here at the Ablekuma Block Factory where the incident occurred. People here have gathered in groups discussing this issue they find very disturbing. Now, this is a compound house, and the tenants here I spoke with said they still cannot understand why this man they describe as calm can carry out such a crime. The police is also here, but this woman have been described as someone who is very quiet and does not really talk much about her problems. So the people here say they don't understand why the man can carry out such an act. But the landlord I spoke with earlier said that they fight constantly due to reports that she's having an affair with another man. She's now dead, and her body is at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital mortuary.
So tell us a bit more. I'm sure there'll be some gory details, but what kind of, subjection or what kind of torture was this woman taken through before her death? Was her throat slit? What actually did we find?
The tenants here, we're not allowed in there because the police are carrying out their investigations. But the tenants here say that at night they had screams from the room. But when they got in, the landlord was able to break in there. He found that there was a machete there. So the woman was severed, and so she had to, he had to take her, put her in a taxi cab and take her to the hospital. She couldn't survive, so they had to take her to the mortuary.
So the body, as we speak, of the deceased is at the mortuary, you're saying?
Yes. She's at the mortuary.
Thank you. That's Ifwa Evans Chinri there, bringing us details there of that rather disturbing situation in Ablekuma here in Accra. You're still listening to the Midday News on Joy 99.7 FM. To some politics now, an NDC flag bearer aspirant, Professor Joshua Alabi, has charged the party's National Executive Committee and Council of Elders to set up an election committee to manage the conduct of presidential primaries following concerns of bias. Following the party's regional congress held simultaneously across the country, some supporters of some aspirants complained that former President John Mahama's campaign messages were being played at the event in clear violation of party regulations. Addressing the media in Accra today, campaign coordinator for Professor Joshua Alabi, Victor Adawodu, prevailed on the leadership to refrain from allowing campaign messages or songs of certain aspirants at party functions.
We expect that the elected leadership will not allow the process to be hijacked by some persons for their own parochial interest. The actions and inactions of the elected leaders would either foster unity and social cohesion or otherwise. Actions such as attacks and insulting of aspirants and elders of the party are clear examples of this unhealthy conduct. When there's party functions and programs, they should not be used to give some aspirants undue advantage over others by allowing campaign messages and songs of particular aspirants to be used at such functions. It should be strictly party messages. Team Alabi, we will reckon that it is God who anoints leaders and establishes kingdoms.
He adds that the committee should have a representation of every aspiring candidate. He believes the move will give the candidates first-hand information on the process.
We intend to propose for the consideration of the party, which we will definitely have an engagement with the party and raise some issues with the party, that every aspirant should be represented on this. This will enable all aspirants get first-hand information on the election, not distorted and grapevine information, which might create difficulties for the party. With free and fair election, the interest that is being generated within the party and ongoing building process, the grassroots, our supporters, and Ghanaians will be encouraged.
That's Victor Kojoga Adaudu, campaign coordinator for Professor Joshua Alabi. My colleague Kwesi Parker-Wilson is at that news conference and joins us live. So, Kwesi, what more have they been saying about this issue of bias?
Well, basically, they've been talking about fairness and equity, transparency in the contest. They don't want any candidate to be given undue advantage over other aspirants. They believe that they all should be given equal opportunity for them to work to ensure whoever emerges victor of the election. And so these are some of the things they've been talking about. In fact, specifically, I asked him about whether or not the fact that some messages are allowed or songs are being played at party functions. He mentioned that he wasn't referring to former President John Dramani Mahama, but was only throwing caution to the wind.
So that's details there from that press conference. So who is the man, Professor Joshua Alabi, and what are his chances against his contenders in the race in the lead up to the NDC flag bearership? Here's a report by my Joy Online editor, Malik Dabu.
This is a man who started off life as a politician, then vamoosed into the pristine precinct of academia, and is now seeking a return to mainstream politics, this time as president. Ghana native from Nungwa and Russian-trained economist and chartered marketer, Professor Alabi has a rather long and rich political CV, even if it appears rusty and may have lost some of its luster. He was National Union of Ghana Students President while in Russia in the mid to late 80s. He returned to Ghana and plunged into the 1996 elections, becoming the Member of Parliament for the Swing constituency of Krowo in the Greater Accra region after obtaining 40% of the vote cast. He lost his re-election bid in 2000 and plunged fully into teaching at his alma mater, the then Institute of Professional Studies, which became a university under his leadership as rector. Professor Alabi's trump card in this election is what he did with IPS, the transformation he is credited with at the university. He is renowned for his innovative leadership that transformed the school into a respected institution of learning with great infrastructure to boast. Politically, he does not have any major scandals hanging around his neck, except, of course, concerns about an overpriced OBS system procured by the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, SNIT, while he was board chairman. His ethnicity, depending on how one looks at it, may prove positive for his campaign. Traditionally, the Gans have voted NDC. Many settlements are predominantly pro-NDC. The problem, however, is that the Gans constitute a small proportion of Ghana's population. Professor Alabi seems to also enjoy quite some support from influential people from the Volta region, including MPs and lawyers. This can prove decisive because this is the so-called World Bank of the opposition party. In the 1996 election, Mr. Rawlings garnered as much as 95% of the votes in that region. If the region backs him fully, it may prove very important. The things that may work against him are varied and many.
What you need to know about Professor Joshua Alabi will stay a while longer on the opposition NDC because the party is asking the Electoral Commission to reconstitute the recently held IPAC meeting so they can also participate in the decision-making. The NDC failed to attend the Jean Mensah-led EC Maiding Inter-Party Advisory Committee meeting last month, citing late invitation. General Secretary of the party, Johnson Asiedun Ketia, speaking to Joy News, threatened to sue the commission should it fail to grant their request.
We are requesting that once they know something has been done wrong, further steps should be taken to correct the wrongs. We were not invited to the meeting. You've done a meeting without inviting a major stakeholder like NDC. And remember, we are only two parties in parliament, the ruling party and NDC. Exactly. So if we are talking about electoral matters, compilation of register, holding referendum, and so on, the major party like that has not been involved at all. I don't think it is good for our democracy. So we are asking that let us hold the meeting again, bring the same issues again, and let us discuss them as if no meeting has taken place.
No, you want the Electoral Commission to reconvene the meeting?
To reconvene the meeting with proper notices to all concerned. So we will go and then discuss the issues as if nothing has happened. And if they insist that the meeting will hold, we will test it elsewhere.
Well, you both the court, is that what you're saying?
Well, we have in our letter, we have indicated that all options will be on the table.
So that is perhaps if they refuse to reconvene the meeting?
Yes.
You have General Secretary of the NDC, Johnson Asiedun Ketia. This is the Midday News on Joy 99.7 FM. Still to come, 9-year-old Class 2 pupil partially paralyzed after falling off from a table as her teacher allegedly attempted to defile her.
He put me on one of the tables and started inserting his fingers in my genitals. It was painful. I started struggling with him.
We'll bring you more as parents of the girl are compelled to keep her at home for lack of money to pay medical bills. And later, it's a battle that may never end soon. We'll tell you about the debate over which is better, iOS or Android.
If Apple themselves are saying that they are reducing your interaction with the cloud, and Google is actually increasing your interaction with the cloud, who here
does better cloud service?
Your family station, Joy 99.7, brings to you the Back to School Fair. It's your one-stop shop for all school supplies. You no longer have to worry about the stress of shopping for your awards. The Joy FM Back to School Fair brings together all vendors under one roof. And if you're looking to enroll or change schools for your child, there'll be reps from various schools to provide the relevant information to help you make that important decision. The date is Friday 7th to Sunday 9th of September 2018 at the Providence Event Center adjacent Otachill Trade Fair. Come along with the kids to have fun and meet your favorite presenters while you shop. Admission is free. The Joy FM Back to School Fair is brought to you by Nataraj by JK Industries and Investments Limited. Nataraj, easy to erase and sharpen, and MTN Mobile Money. Just Momo it everywhere you go. Republic Bank, we are the one for you. Educare plan from Enterprise Life. Enterprise, your advantage. Pepsi, own the moment. Still one Ghana city pay. Big, always gives you more.
I know I can. Be what I wanna be.
That is the sweet sound of excellence. That is the sound from Mac. Yes, Mac Ghana is the #1 distributor of the world's best quality Isuzu and Chevrolet vehicles in Ghana. Isuzu trucks from 1.5 tons to heavy-duty vehicles. Isuzu buses from 15 to 33 seaters, double and single cabin pickup, available in automatic and manual transmissions. We also stock a wide range of Chevy cars from SUVs, sedans, and small cars, fully loaded with exquisite specifications. All our range of vehicle stand out due to its high fuel efficiency, safety, luxury, spacious interior, world-class delivery, and after-sales servicing. What's more, we offer flexible payment terms to meet your pockets. Mark Ghana is a sole distributor for Isuzu trucks and pickups, as well as all range of Chevrolet cars in Ghana. Call us on 0302-813-919 in Accra or 0242-039-550 in Kumasi. Visit our website at markghana.com. Mark Ghana, with you for the long run.
You're welcome back to the Midday News. Time now for sports. Ridwan?
Yes, it's been 4 training sessions for the Black Stars in Ethiopia, where they've been campaigning and preparing for that qualifier on Saturday against Kenya in the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations eliminatories. Now, it's been good news all round as Kwesi Appiah, who is the head coach, trained with a full complement of a squad and also has no injury worries at all going into that game. The flight to Nairobi is just 3 hours time from Addis Ababa, and ahead of that, assistant coach of the team, Ibrahim Tanko, is satisfied with the improvements made by the team since their last Group F qualifier against Ethiopia at home.
Yeah, well, I think it's not only the game we play against Ethiopia. I mean, if you follow us well, in every game we are improving. I mean, after the game, we went to Congo and won. We went to Uganda and then Saudi Arabia, now Japan and Iceland. I think the team are growing. So we hope that everyone will come with his faith so that we go and take the 3 points.
We'll be keeping you posted on the team's departure from Addis Ababa to Nairobi for the qualifier. That's your sports for lunch.
Thank you, Ridwan. Now, a 9-year-old girl in the central region town of Kaswa is now struggling to walk after allegedly being assaulted or sexually assaulted by her teacher. The teacher is said to have inserted his fingers into the vagina of the girl, whom he accused of turning up late for classes. During the sexual abuse, however, the victim is said to have fallen off from the table as she tried to flee and is now unable to walk. Joy News' Maxwell Agbagba has been following the story and now reports.
I am at the Kaswa residence of the Class 2 pupil. Family members are seated discussing their next line of action. Very close to them is the victim seated in a plastic chair covered with a cloth. There is a pillow supporting her back with her 2 legs resting on a kitchen stool. As she stretches in the chair, tears begin to flow. She is in pain. The 9-year-old girl says on the day she reported late to vacation classes, her class teacher offered to teach her what she had missed, but ended up inserting his fingers in her genitals.
There were some children playing in the classroom where he took me. He sacked all of them. I told one of my friends there to wait, but the teacher disagreed. When I started writing, he came closer and rubbed his hands in my head and said my father has asked him to provide all my needs. He put me on one of the tables and started inserting his fingers in my genitals. It was painful. I started struggling with him. In an attempt to flee, my pelvis hit one of the tables. I fell down and later ran home with my younger sister. I was scared to tell my mom.
The victim's grandfather says the suspect confessed to the crime and later gave them 50 Ghana cedis to cater for the girl, but denied the allegation when they reported the matter to the police.
He told me that, I know the accused very well, and then the wife. He told me that he begs me.
We'll bring you more of this in our subsequent bulletins. It's time now for Tech Thursday. Now, grab your phones. Take a look at it. Does it run iOS or Android? For those of you who are confused, there are various operating systems that power smartphones these days. The most popular of them are iOS from Apple, of course, and Android from Google. So which one is it? iOS or Android phones? Ben Isabubedu. Listen to the Tuesday evening program. That's Geek Squad and Reports.
Apart from football, one issue that can cause a serious debate among people, especially men, is which phones are the best, Android or iOS? My colleague Kobe Nkrumah tried to settle the debate on his show, Geek Squad.
Which of these phones perform better with cloud backups? Your phone comes with iCloud, a minimum of 5 gig. Your phone comes with Google Drive, minimum of 15 gig.
When I purchased the iPhone X recently and I needed to upgrade from the 7, basically I just set up using my iCloud account and I was just amazed. Apps, WhatsApp, data, conversations, everything just backed up automatically.
Now here's the interesting thing. Google is pushing AI. Recently, iOS were talking about the fact that their thing is now more end-to-end encryption. So I sent to you, it doesn't go up into the cloud. So if Apple themselves are saying that they are reducing your interaction with the cloud, and Google is actually increasing your interaction with the cloud, who here?
That's better cloud service.
Well, the debate got so complex after an hour, there was no real conclusion.
Of course, there has to be an iOS any day. If you know, you know. And that's it for the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. I am MFR Paul. Thanks for your company. Have a good afternoon.